So, coroner, what was the cause of death? The spike penetrated the chest wall and perforated the aortic arch. A few centimeters to the right, and she may have pulled through. These are the famous words from a CSI episode. So you can guess what's coming up. Hey guys, what's up? This is Hafsa Slayman and you're listening to Confessions of a Doctorholic. And if you haven't guessed what this episode is about, it's about my first time in the anatomy lab and my first time exposed to a human cadaver. So basically, the first time I was ever exposed to something dead was an undergrad. We had to do a fetal pig dissection to analyze the circulatory system to compare it to human babies, because apparently piglets are very close in terms of the circulatory system and the blood supply. And we had to analyze it to understand and appreciate the differences between the circulation in a fetus compared to a full-grown human. Anyway, so I was so crook after that experience. I came down with the flu for an entire week and I chalked it down to exposure to formaldehyde. And that's basically what they use to preserve dead things, right? Anyway, fast forward to medical school. So they tell us that we need to go to the anatomy lab. And that's prerequisite of becoming a doctor. Like, you go into the anatomy lab and you have to become comfortable with the cadavers, because essentially you will have to deal with people that are dying, that are dead, and we have to help treat them, right? So this is how you get more comfortable around it, more comfortable diagnosing people, and you understand what you see. So I was super nervous. Because of undergrad, I was just like, oh my God, am I actually going to be able to handle this? And part of me was also excited because of all the CSI that I've been watching. But then there's also this other part of me that's like, are they mummified or are they decomposing? Because, I mean, I think I'm a really strong person, right? But will I be able to deal with a person decomposing and bugs? Me and bugs, nah, we don't get along, especially roaches. No, thank you. Anyway, let me set the scene for you. I walk in the first day of anatomy, and let me tell you, our lab is in the basement. Why? I don't know. And it seems to be this common theme, even in horror movies. You know, when the serial killer decides to kill someone, they usually take them to the basement, they preserve body parts in the basement. I don't know what's that about. But anyway, this place is in the basement, and there's this special key code that lets you through. So I walk in, and the first thing I notice is 8 beds with a white sheet on top. And it's freaky. Like, you know, there are bodies underneath this. Anyway, I get closer and I realize they're not actually beds. No. It's kind of like, you know those food trays that they have in hotels when they're trying to, or even hospitals, like when they're trying to spread food to different places, they usually have like this tray-like thing on a trolley. So that's kind of what that was. And I went closer, and it's not actually a white sheet. It's actually a body bag. And underneath these trays with the body bag, there's a biohazard bucket in bright yellow, and you can see some like liquidy thing sort of dripping down. And there's this Tupperware container. Sorry guys, if you listen to this before your lunch, I am so sorry, but there's this Tupperware container with some body parts, brains and whatever. And then I realized that the place is really cold. I got these goosebumps and I thought, okay, this is because of the bodies. But it was actually because of the ambient temperature. And I mean, I wasn't really dressed for it. I wasn't expecting it to be any colder than the outside environment, but it was actually significantly chillier. Anyway, so we spread out in even groups of like 5 to 7 students with a lecturer with each body. So he explains to us that we won't actually be dissecting, which, to be completely honest with you, I was quite disappointed about. But then they explained it as it'll save us time because these bodies are pre-dissected, so we can't actually nick any extra things because we don't know what we're doing. They're sort of like open for us, so you can peel off layers of skin and pick out the bone, and you can analyze what you need to see rather than spending so much time cutting up bodies. Anyway, so we start off with the first body. All right, the lecturer uncovers the first body, and that's when the smell hit me. So I was kind of numb by like whatever I was seeing in front of me. I didn't realize that I wasn't actually smelling anything, but that's when it hit me. And let me tell you, the smell, it's not really a gross, like it's not a dead or fungusy sort of smell, but it's not a pleasant smell either. It's just kind of a smell that sort of makes you uncomfortable and something that might cause you to like tear up as well. So that's when it hit me. And that's kind of when I was like, oh my God, like this is actually real. We all put our gloves on, and I touch the person, and like even through gloves, if you touch someone next to you, they're usually warm. In this case, this person was cold. And he unzips the bag, opens it up, and you see a face, like nothing's decomposed or anything like that. It's all in place. It's not exactly like a normal human. Like the things are not really, how do I explain it? It's not fresh. The person's pale, they're cold. And so I look at the body, and there's like a gap, and you can peel off the skin, which was what we did, so that we can see the inner organs, because we had respiratory week. So that's what our aim and our goal was, to look at the lungs. So I peel off the skin, and I couldn't help but wonder, like, can you imagine people walking around naked? And I don't mean naked as in like without clothes naked. No, can you imagine people walking around with their muscles and their veins and whatever on display, like if people didn't have any skin on? It's freaky. I mean, okay, like I shouldn't be joking about this, but like I feel like some people might be more attractive without skin on, and in my case, yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm that muscly, so it might not be the best thing to see without skin on. But anyway, can you even imagine that? Like, that's really freaky, hey? So it was amazing and mortifying at the same time. Anyway, let me tell you more about this first body. So it was probably a guy in his 70s or 80s. We don't actually know the cause of death, but when you do an autopsy, or like when you look inside the body, you can look at some things that might indicate some of the health problems they've had, but you don't actually know what caused them to die in the end. Okay? So this first guy, we peel off the skin and we pick up the rib cage because it was already broken. One lung was taken out and the other one was there, so that you can see where everything attaches in terms of the arteries, the veins, all of that. So we're looking at the lungs and it's black. And I mean, like literally there's like this tarry substance all over. And I touch it with my glove and my glove goes all tarry and greasy. Anyway, I'm there freaking out going like, okay, like, do my lungs look like this? And the lecturer was like, no, actually, we reckon that this guy's a smoker. And all this tar is all the substances that is in a cigarette that has deposited on his lungs. Anyway, it was kind of cool, but it was also like really freaky, because when people smoke, right, you don't actually know, or like you don't really see the full-blown effect until you sort of look at the lungs in an anatomy lab. Anyway, we finish analysing that body and we move on to the next station to look at a different body to see variations in different human bodies. So this one was a female. And I'm like looking all over and I can see the cuts and stuff where the dissections have taken place. And like I'm going down like from her head down her body, and there's like cuts over her torso where they are trying to like remove things and move things out of the way so it's easier for us to see the organs on the inside. And then I go down to her hands, part of it's exposed, and then I got to the nail, and I feel like her nails were probably the most real. Okay, let me explain this to you. So she had gel nail polish on, probably before she passed away. And somehow that survived formaldehyde as well. So like note to self moment, I should probably get my nails done. But yeah, like that remained intact. Anyway, so that was my experience. Oh yeah, and I know that some of yous get to dissect bodies in medical school, so I want to know, what was that like? Feel free to leave some messages and text me. Anyway, see you next time.